All right, I think it's time to get the ball rolling. Welcome, 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 everybody, to Under One Sky's regional story session, North, South, and Central America. I am so glad to have you all here today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are calling from. If you haven't already, please put where you're calling from in the chat if you're just now joining us. Please engage with each other. This is going to be a very inspiring and insightful talk. And before I formally introduce our speakers for the session, I'm going to go through some quick housekeeping, such as the code of conduct. This is nothing that you have not already heard before, but please be considerate, compassionate, and allow for an engaging and fun conversation. Also, we have just like a handful of sessions left for Under One Sky. So please go to the conference website and check out what sessions you want to view next. We have tons, and they are all great, and they are all like very inspiring and insightful. So please do continue to join us and have a great time. Also, we have Under One Sky merch as well. So please check that out when you can. There are some really great t-shirts, hats, beanies, stickers. Our comms team really did a great one for Under One Sky. So please do check those out and support. And also with Zoom, if you are new, there are a whole bunch of controls at the bottom of your screen, such as captions if you have a hard time hearing, or if you want to change the language that you are engaging with us in, please do so. That is in the little CC bracket at the bottom of your screen. Also, like I said, we do have chat, and we have the Q&A feature. After our engaging talk, we will have a Q&A for the speaker. So if you have any questions at that time, please put them in the chat or in the Q&A, and I'll make sure to ask them. And without further ado, I'm going to formally introduce our speakers for today. All right, so welcome to Under One Sky's regional story session, North, Central, and South America. We're excited to be joined today by three amazing speakers. First, Bryant Gonzalez Vasquez from Paraguay is an astronomer and educator, a member of the International Planetarium Society, and the South American National Outreach Coordinator for the International Astronomical Union, also known as the IAU. Next, we also have Juan Carlos Hernandez Montes from Mexico, an astronomer, educator, and former president of the Astronomical Society of Querétaro. And finally, Steve Hildenbrandt from the United States, a retired Air Force veteran, amateur astronomer, and dedicated dark sky volunteer. Together, they'll share inspiring stories and experiences showing all the ways communities across the Americas connect with and protect our night skies. And so, without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Bryant.
Hi everyone. As you were saying, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And I'm going to share my presentation now. I'm living in Paraguay 3 years ago, and I've been working and joining to different campaigns to conservation and preservation of not only environments of dark skies, but also with little animals, as you can see there, opossums, which are very common here in Paraguay. So my presentation is divided in two parts. The first one, very short, the adaptation of lighting in a lodge in a natural reserve in Paraguay. And the second one, the preservation campaign of Micures, which is the way that here in Paraguay, people call to opossums. This is a Guarani word. Remember, in Paraguay, there are two official languages. The first one is Spanish, and the second one is the Guarani language. So micures in Paraguay are those little animals here. I'm going to, it is the presentation because we're going to start with the natural reserve. This is a place I am using reference from light pollution map in order you can see where we are located. This reserve is in the border between Brazil and Paraguay, and here you can see again where is this reserve, which is the Baracayú Forest Reserve. This is a 644 square kilometer of forest, and it has the most important species here in Paraguay. You can see, for example, how it is from space, from air, sorry, and where it's located in this department or this state inside Paraguay. Um, is a very small place where people go to do tourism and to know more about the species that they are carrying. But there are all other activities, for example, observation of birds and some rivers, flowers, different species of trees. But they want to initiate activities related to tourism in nocturnal activities with the stars because there are no light pollution there. But one of the most important the activities is the biodiversity protection because they have 93 species of mammals, 440 species of birds, and all these reptiles and fishes in the rivers that is that they want to preserve. And the most important of them are this one. For example, the jaguar. The jaguars are very common, and they have some stations of trap cameras where they have taken some pictures and studied the behavior of the jaguar in this reserve. And the bird, the bell bird, is the name of this. Is one of the most important birds in Paraguay because it represents not only the biodiversity but also the culture in Paraguay. I want you to listen how is the song of this bird. And this inspires one of the most popular songs not only in Paraguay but also in South America. I don't know if you can listen.
I think you're not sharing the media, but
I'm not
continue.
sharing the audio. Oh, wait. Wait just for a while. Sorry. Let me check if I can share the sound. Uh, if things happen live. Well, I don't know if oh yeah, here it is. Share sound. Okay, let's go again. So I was saying it is inspired one of the most popular songs here in Paraguay, which is this one. It's very similar to the bird. Well, it's just this part. If you want to find it, it's Bell Bird song in YouTube. You can find it, but it's part of this culture. And this bird is common here in this reserve, and its nests are around the places where people go to see and visit. As I was saying, they want to promote activities with stars, night nocturnal activities, watching stars. I was invited with my planetarium in order to try to see how constellations and Milky Way galaxy can be seen. But I found this the inefficient light, so we start to work in create an adaptation of this lighting in order to not affect the environment or species, the nocturnal species that live around this place. Um, we are we started to work 2 months ago, and probably we finish next month because the summer season is about come, and they want to have everything ready to receive tourism and promote more these activities. We have telescope there, and we were starting to reduce this light pollution impact. And the next visit we will do to this place will be next week, and then probably we finish all this adaptation to nocturnal spaces or nocturnal environment in this reserve. Another bird is this one. I don't know if you can hear this song because This is considered by people one of the ugliest birds in South America, but it's not ugly. The thing is that the appearance is very strange, and the song is, I don't know, terrific. I like, but if in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the forest, you are walking and you listen to this, probably you died on a heart attack. But this is part of the preservation we want to do in this reserve. And now let me introduce you the mikure or the white-eared opossum, which is very common here in all the South America territory, but they are misunderstood species because people think that it brought diseases or the appearance is also not so kind to people. And we were working with a group of preservation and rescue of these animals because they used to be in the city, and people get scared when they see marsupials, when they see opossums close, and they attack with stones, sometimes dogs going behind them, and some they get hurt. And this group tried to rescue them. They and I, with our planetarium, we were studying why are they coming to the city, and we detect some different indicators that bring these animals to the city, and one of them is light pollution. Here you can see some of the pictures taken not only from internet resources, but also in the Asunción city. And here some other images of people attacking, for example, these opossums are or taking pictures in some trees, another in internet, taken from internet, of people reacting in a negative way when they see opossums in cities. And the reason we were trying to study with this association was the light pollution impact in the nocturnal behavior of these opossums. So we were taking data of reports of rescue of these animals between 2021 and 2024. So according with the reports of rescue of these animals, we create a map, not only of light pollution map, but also the concentrations or traffic of opossums in cities. This is Asunción City, the capital of Paraguay, and then we have the three most light cities, which is Encarnación in the south of the country, close to Argentina, and Ciudad del Este, or East City, close to Brazil. And in the middle, you can see the smallest cities. And then this is the data we took about the organization between 2021 and the two closest cities or the brightest cities in the country, which is Asunción, where I am, and San Bernardino, which is the closest to Asunción, the city closest to Asunción. The numbers of opossums rescued in that time between 2021 and 2024. And let me share this animation we made because we are working with our planetarium, and we use the data of open space project. We create a map, and we GeoJSON map, for example, we create this presentation or this simulation to show people in our planetarium how the light pollution is probably one of the most indicators of the behavior of these animals. Why? Because light attracts insects or small vertebrates animal, for example, scorpions, which are really common here in Paraguay too, and they eat them. So they contribute to care people from scorpions. They attack or they move to places where there are a lot of people or lights because they probably are not orientated. And this is the maybe we are thinking the lights here in Asunción. This is a map from 2021 But if we change the date, for example, to last year, here you can see the different light pollution taken from satellite. I mean, taken from VIIRS, the visualization of a world map of NASA. So we create this, taking all this data in all these cities where opossums used to be reported, but the mostly in the lighted, the cities with more light. So this is Asunción, and here close to Paraguay, we have another city, 100 opossums rescued, and well, what we try to teach with this to our public here in Asunción. First, opossums are not animals with diseases, or they are not aggressive. And the second, because we want to preserve them and try to work in order to reduce the light pollution more here in the city, in order to care them or to change their nocturnal habits. We are working. We have been working all these days, but last year the government closed this association because it was a private association. So government wanted to take this work with them, but they are not doing not too much. So this organization and I have been working not only with data, but also we try to teach, to try to show more how the light pollution impact can affect this behavior of these animals. We have been working with birds, but we have not the data of birds, and bats are also part of our projects. To finish, I'm going to show you, well, this last slide of this Simpson chapter where they are rescuing some opossums too. But this is part of the work I've been doing during last months here in Paraguay, last years. Well, this is all I have to say about. So if you have any question, just let me know. Thank you.
That was an awesome presentation, Brian. Thank you so much for that. I love possums. So please, if you have any questions for Brian, please pop them in the chat or in the Q&A feature for the Q&A portion of this session. Now to our next speaker, Juan Carlos.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for this space. I hope you can hear me properly. Please confirm if you can see my screen. You will see that I will show you the way that we are focusing our job in have some legacy, to have some heritage, or to leave something for the future generations. We start in the center of Mexico, but you will see along this short slide that we are trying to spread as wherever as we can. Okay, so this is the work that we have done in Astronaut. Astronaut is an astrotourism agency created in the center in Querétaro, center of Mexico. And we have increasing the scope by building networking with other groups and other places, as you will see. Right now, we are focusing on have good communications with the Latin American or the Spanish spoken people. In this case, we have a small group that we call CODEFI, due to the community of defensors of the night sky. And we're promoting a good work with the astrotourism in Mexico with this initiative, which is the Association of Astrotourism. And specifically in Querétaro, we are working to grow an association that consolidate all the information, because in all the tourism summits that we have gone, always has been highlighted the importance of have a record, of have accountability, of having the impact, to measure the impact of the good labor and the good work that we are doing. So that's why we are consolidating these with the other groups of astrotourism. And of course, Dark Sky, I am a part of a chapter in Mexico with Fernando Avila. So, well, the panorama in Mexico, we have a good background. We have a long history of stargazing and awareness of the dark sky. Starting from the National Observatory, you can see in Baja California, we have the National Observatory of the National University in San Pedro Martir. And this initiative, or this good hotspot of science and stargazing, have spread along the region in the north of Mexico, with hotels and campings promoting the stargazing. Even the wine, because this is a vineyard place, they have specific concepts or branding to explode the night sky, which is a good way to spread the word. Okay, but as part of this networking that we do with Ley del Cielo, with the people in San Pedro Martir, we are trying to build networking with other organizations. In this picture, we have the Pico de Orizaba, and we have the main is the large microwave telescope, the part of the black hole observation, the black hole network that we have in Mexico, in Puebla. And this place, we have a group of friends working with astrotourism near to this place. So they go to stargazing, and then they go for a tour in this big antenna, working to see black holes of the center of the galaxies. So this place of astrotourism has been certified by Starlight, the group of the people certifying astrotourism activities. They are in Spain, and we are good friends of Antonia Varela, the director of Fundación Starlight. You can see here, of course, in the same summit in Chile, we knew Connie Walker, who was here in the sessions. Probably is there. I say hello to Connie. So we are trying to build this good relationship with all the people that can have some legacy and some good message for future generations about stargazing. Now, we can build more links, we can build more networking by knowing or starting where are we. We are from the center of Mexico, and you can see in this map, which is in the previous version of the webpage of Dark Sky, we had this map highlighting the certified and the recognized sites around the world, and you can see that Mexico was pretty clean. So we start working with this urban park in Querétaro. So this is the first one recognized by Dark Sky International to have a good work of outreach. This is a urban place, so that means that it's not a perfect sky, but it have deployed the proper outreach information to create awareness about the importance of take care of the dark in the night ecosystems. So we have the good visit from Diana Umpier, who was former board of directors, and she was with us, and we have a good time working on this project. You can see the work of outreach. All these people has been invited from the near communities. We have a small towns around this park, and they are always invited in order we can explain to them that they have a good potential if they take care of their sky. Okay, so in order to spread the word, we work in Querétaro to have a state law in order to take care of the emissions. Querétaro is a very important industrial city focused on automotive and aerospace manufacturing. So that means a lot of big facilities with too much light. So we promote this law and a big campaign in order for everyone and all the industries to be careful and to take care of the big light pollution around the city, because they are with this big spot of light, we are menacing, or we have compromising and jeopardizing the places to stargaze all around. Every single star gazing that we perform in this place in Joya La Barreta, Querétaro, we invite to the people. This is an event that we have last night. You can see one of my friends working on this project is Frank and Richard up here. They are working with the schools and with the people in the small town around this place in order to promote, to take care of this. So right now, I will tell you at the end of this presentation, but I had a job offer in Austin, Texas. But these guys, this team is working themselves to keep the certification, to have the annual reports, to have the outreach. So this is legacy. This is when you work in order to, you are no longer needed, and they keep with the good effort. Of course, every time I go and visit them, I may follow up of the activities, but they are very independent, and they are very, they can work by themselves. When I was in Querétaro, I was leading the Astronomical Society. You can see here the Messier Marathon, which is one of the main events in Mexico, where most of the astronomers go together to catch as much Messier objects as feasible, which is like galaxies, and I was president along 3 years in this society. I am here, and now the actual president is Marco Antonio, who is the one next to me. So all this presentation is to talk about how to spread the word in other places. This is the work that our friends in Hidalgo, is a state close to Querétaro, it's a 3 hours distance. They are working in Peña del Aire. So I invite to the dark sky team and to all the people working to support them. They are doing a great job on this place as well. Even the governor has been supporting, both governors has been supporting them. So about this spreading the word, I already told you that I meet Connie and Antonia Varela in Chile, in Vicuña. This is the summit of astrotourism. I was the spokesman in this event, and we went to stargazing, and it was a great experience where we learned how to have good practices in tourism, and we explain the work that we are doing in Mexico. So I already told you that we have a good network with other people from all around the Latin America. So how to spread the word to the next level? This picture has been taken by Richard, the guy that you saw a few pictures ago. So this is the northern light in Iceland. So we went to Iceland to analyze the quality of the sky, and we took a group to spread the word of the good practices and the good way to take care of the sky. So all the Icelandic country, all around the small towns around the island have a very good lighting. They have warm. They have properly the direction properly shield. So this is a very good work that they have done. But of course, the capital, you can see, well, we spread the word with the team or the people. This is me showing the stars with so high north star, the Polaris. The latitude is so high that you can see the north stars very over your head. So what I got on this message is that we need to be consistent. This is the capital, Reykjavik, and you can see that very far away. You can see this really weird. Even the people, the team that we have, the people, the visitors that we have in that event, they ask me, "Hey, is that a northern line?" And I say, "Nope, this is not northern line. This is a bad practice, which is just have the light. They call it the light towers, which is just to put it in the wrong direction. So yeah, it's nice, but is not useful and is impacting, as we know. So this is all the people in this travel. We reach 22 people with this new message. They are aware about this experience, how to take care of the night sky. And every single event, you can see that we are trying to increase the scope, and we are trying to spread the word, and we are trying to have some legacy in order to go to the next level and to the next spot and keep working with a sustainable way. And talking about the next spot, I received a job offer in Austin, Texas, and I was very happy when I saw the society, the Austin Astronomical Society. You can see the logo, which they have a bat, right? So I was very happy because that just in the logo, just in the main branding, they know that very important activity is to take care of the night ecosystems. So I went to an stargazing with them a few days ago in Pflugerville, in a small, well, in an area outside of Austin. So I will get closer to them, even more and more closer, in order to keep spreading the word. So my message to you guys is, what is your legacy? What are you working in order to have your impact to remain in the next level once you are not there? Thank you. Right.
Awesome presentation, Juan.
Thank you.
That was really, really insightful and super cool to see all of the work that you are doing in Mexico. And with that, I am going to pass it on over to Stephen.
We'll see if we can not make sausage this time. Hi, it's great to be here. I appreciate the invite, and it's an honor to be associated with such a large group around the world of dark sky enthusiasts that want to protect the night sky. So without further ado, I'm going to see if I can actually share my slides. Did it work?
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. Something's
Okay.
coming up. There we go.
Okay, so I'm here in Ohio. If you see any good pictures, they were not taken by me. If you see any blurry pictures, they probably were taken by me, and there'll be a mix. Okay, next slide. Okay, I'm hitting the next button and nothing is happening. There we go. Okay, I am about 2 or 3 pixels within the tip of that red arrow right there. As you can see, this is the state of Ohio with a little bit of Philadelphia or Pennsylvania on the right-hand side, a little bit of Indiana on the left. And I live in a little town called Beaver Creek. We're a suburb of Dayton. And to use a phrase from a Tom Hanks movie a few decades back, Houston, we have a problem. And this is the problem. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a little black and white picture taken back in 1952. And between 1919 and 1969, there's a river in Ohio that runs up this way into Lake Erie, through Cleveland, that caught fire about a dozen times. And nobody really cared because that was just an indication of progress, industrial activity, jobs available. But the fire in 1969 was not the largest fire, but it was pretty much dismissed. But some news services picked it up, and the report was carried in one of the weekly national news magazines. And then a short while later, it got picked up by National Geographic. And following the awareness that those articles brought about the concept, this issue of water pollution in our rivers, the first Earth Day occurred in April 1970. Now, I was aware of it, didn't participate. By the time Earth Day 1971 rolled around, I was engaged in the school I was at in some of the Earth Day activities. I lived in a town in Oregon, which had a very polluted creek, which you did not go down close to. And over the course of several years, they've cleaned that creek up to the point where I wouldn't drink the water, but you can wade in it. Just like the Cuyahoga River in Ohio, so polluted that if you fell into it, you'd probably end up in the hospital. But now it's a sporting area. Again, I wouldn't drink the water, but you could probably swim in it. But the question I have to ask is, are we at the point where we realize that our night sky is on fire? And I think we need to be. And I think this group that's listening, I'm probably preaching to the choir because you're aware of that. So, talking about Dark Sky Ohio, it's been around for about 7 or 8 years. I've just more recently gotten involved. I think Tracy is our third president. She got involved because her daughter couldn't go to sleep at night because an industrial facility a quarter mile away with lights on were shining in her window. Some of the other members have similar stories of why they got involved. We're kind of a small group, mostly centered in Southwest Ohio. As you can see, we have some regional captains, Aaron in Southwest, Mike up in the Northwest area, Dayton area where I'm at, the regional captain is Mark. But therein lies the problem. We're kind of a nebulous structure. We don't have coverage of the entire state with people that are starting to push and advocate. But we do have national or state parks, and we'll get to that. So we're kind of like the Witch Head Nebula, a little nebulous out there. So I was told to say a little bit about my inspiration and a little bit of my life story, possibly. I won't go into too much detail. From age 6 to 17, I was fascinated by the night sky. I was a product of the early American space program with Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo. I followed every one of those missions to the extent that I was allowed to stay up that late. And then went off to college, anticipating majoring in astronomy. I did not do my due diligence. And when I said I want to major in astronomy, the advisor, the counselor showed me a list and said, "Do you see astronomy on this list?" And I said, "Oops." So I majored in physics, and then life intervened. And for 40 years, had little connection to astronomy. I still enjoyed the night sky. For part of my career, I flew an aircraft, and I like to turn the cockpit lights all the way down because the view at 30,000 feet is pretty impressive. Moved 15 times in 30 years, sometimes in areas where we were lucky to be able to see the moon, sometimes in areas where I could see the Milky Way horizon. Then I retired and I entered into my interest as a teenager with the night sky, constellation, space program, and more. But after a few years of using either my driveway in that light polluted area you noted, or our dark sky site, which is on the edge of that light polluted area out at John Bryant State Park, I noticed that even in town, what I had been able to see when I started using my binoculars or a small telescope to stargaze, 2 or 3 years later, I could no longer see some of the faint fuzzies I was looking for. So I'd go drive around investigating and say, wow, they put new bright parking lot lights in the grocery store parking lot. Oh, a new car dealership opened up. Oh, another car dealership opened up, and they have really bright lights. So I started attending a few council meetings, city council meetings, town hall meetings, and raising the question. And one guy said, "We have a lighting ordinance. We protect the night." So I looked at the lighting ordinance, and it was well written. However, it was not at all enforced. And that's the dilemma on passing legislation at the local level. If there's no enforcement, it doesn't do a whole lot of good. So a few years into it, I became more acquainted with Dark Sky Ohio. And the approach that Dark Sky Ohio was taking was not just protecting the night sky for amateur astronomers, but for life, for mammals, for people, for health, for amphibians, for sea life, insects. And I thought, that's true. I was an environmentalist 50 years ago. Maybe I should become one again. And so I started changing my approach to talking about protecting the night sky to include life in general. And it got a little more receptive audience. Have things changed? Not a whole lot. Picture on the left. Yes, it's blurry. As I said, I'm not much of a photographer. And yes, I forgot to close the curtains. But that's a picture of my house. That's what it generally looks like. There are exterior lights on either side of the door, as you can see from the right. There are lights over the garage. There are lights in the back. None of them are ever on. The ones around the door are indeed red. The cell phone makes them a little brighter. They're actually much dimmer than that. And yes, the neighbors have not complained. My house is dark intentionally because I like the dark. Could be darker. I could also do it smarter, and I'll work on that. In this subdivision I'm at, each house, it may have been an old homeowner association requirement, has a light post. And the light post was on a dusk to dawn sensor with no switch inside the house to turn it off. and it kind of interfered with my observatory. A convenient car backing out of the driveway, not me, managed to knock the light post down, and I've never really fully fixed it. A couple years ago, I was given that small sign that says "Dark Skies Matter," and I put it up in the yard. More recently is the dark sky friendly, which actually isn't there. I've got that posted perpendicular to the sidewalk for the dog walkers. Now, without saying a word to my neighbors, slowly they begin, some of them, to turn their exterior lights off. If you look at the bottom row, you can barely see it. There's a fairly brightly lit house. That's catty corner across the street. They've got a front pole light, lights on either side of the garage, lights on the front door, and they have lights in the backyard. All the houses, there are 6 houses in that row, and they were all that well lit or more than that one that's still well lit. And without actually saying anything to my neighbors, they knew I was out there in the driveway occasionally. They started turning their lights off and leaving them off to the point where the house to the right of the one that's well lit, you can't even see the house anymore, which is kind of nice. So in a very small scale, we're working on light pollution in this neighborhood. It doesn't deal with the rest of the city. So how to deal with the rest of the city and the rest of the state is Dark Sky Ohio's approach to combating light pollution, maintaining a natural night sky involves multiple gamuts. For those of you that are into astrophotography, this picture is M15. M15 is a globular cluster, and it's a beautiful globular cluster through binoculars or a telescope. And a lot of pictures just show the globular cluster. So we could say the approach to dark skies is to just turn the lights out. But unfortunately, we just can't tell people to turn the lights out. It's like getting a picture of M15, but just getting the globular cluster. There's a lot more to it. And Dr. Gary Cook's picture picked up a lot of the dust that's visible if you use the right equipment. So we have the need for education, internal education for our membership, but also outreach for the public. There are a number of areas we're working on dark sky certification for some of our state parks. We're trying to educate businesses, industry, political engagement, political legislation. Right now, we're just working at the very local level. I have seen in some of these other sessions that people are working at the state level. So I need to contact, and I took notes of who to contact on how to actually engage at the state level to try to get possibly some state level legislation. And then obviously collaboration with like-minded organizations, which a lot of you are already doing. And both the previous speakers mentioned the need for collaboration. Internal education consists mostly of Zoom meetings where we talk business, look at outreach opportunities, who can go where, who can address this, who can set up a table. They include, Tracy puts on some learning series, contacts a speaker. So for the first 30 minutes of the meeting, we have somebody talking about a pertinent topic, like the crime prevention through environmental design, Vanessa Sula up in Chicago. She actually, I think, works or is connected to the police department up there. And she recognizes that more light doesn't decrease crime. Dr. Brian Bollinger, a professor at Northwest Ohio University, has talked to us about managing artificial lightscapes. And then, of course, there's the Dark Sky International speaker series, which are always valuable. And we have outreach events. This is just a smattering of the outreach events that one or more of our members have participated in. And just as an example, we set up tables at the meteor shower camp out at Cedar Creek State Park, at the Boonshoff Museum, which is in downtown Dayton, at the Wagner Subaru Outdoor Festival, which is mostly focused on hiking, kayaking, backpacking, camping, until Liz and Gary said astrophotography is an outdoor experience, and they were able to set up a booth out there. And lest you think that we set up a booth and walk away, no, our folks stay there and engage with the public and talk about preserving night skies and why we want to preserve night skies. So we have the Wagner Subaru outdoor event. We have the meteor shower camp out, another event up at Kettering. And this is participating in Cincinnati Observatory events, lower left, Wingfoot State Park, which is well north. We got invited, went up there and talked about dark skies at the Firefly Festival, as well as other events. Engaging with youth activities. This is an example of Liz is there on the left, who is currently our secretary. Girl Scouts came through in waves of 25 to 30. They asked for an astronomy event in the middle of the day on a cloudy day, so we couldn't even look at the sun. So we looked at we set up telescopes to look at the girls that were shooting arrows at an archery range down the hill. But we showed them a slide presentation of the night sky, Astronomy 101. We showed them the impacts of what light pollution does on the environment. And then Liz brought out the glitter and glue, and it got kind of crazy. But it was a fun event with at least 150 girls there. But it's not just Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, rec centers, things like that. Educating industry and educating governmental entities. Brad is we'll call him our government affairs liaison. He works for the city of Fairborn. He put together a lighting symposium, bringing in city planners from multiple locations in the Dayton area to talk about compliant type lighting. Tracy, our president, spoke at a sustainment symposium about preserving the night skies. Erin is a naturalist at Cedar Creek State Park, and she takes advantage of every opportunity to talk about preserving the night skies. Whether or not the activity has much to do with night skies, she somehow gets it into the program. And I call Scout, that little owl right there, our unofficial mascot. In terms of trying to reduce the impact of light pollution on Ohio, we've got a couple parks that are already recognized as urban dark skies. Fry Family Observatory Park. Cedar Creek has finished their lighting assessment. That's with the two pictures on the left saying those lights got to go. And as Cedar Creek has engaged, many of the other state parks around Ohio are starting to pay attention and saying, how can we get on board? So questions are coming in about what they can do, what needs to be done, what the possibilities are. So the engagement is spreading to other state parks. In fact, recently, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, that the state parks fall under, had a sustainability webinar to talk about sustainable lighting, which is directly tied to dark sky compliant lighting. Education continues across multiple fronts. Lighting ordinances. Tracy got a lighting ordinance, dark sky lighting ordinance through the city of Springfield. Brad got a lighting proclamation to the city of Fairfield. Beaver Creek has a lighting ordinance. Enforcement still remains to be an issue. Liz has written a letter to the editor. She sent a notice about the bird flyway migration to, I think, every newspaper in Ohio, trying to get them to at least support it or advertise it. We're working on our own virtual newsletter. We're working on our website. We're trying to get homeowners engaged. So collaboration with other like-minded organizations. Oh, that was the Ohio Lights Out was one of the collaboration, trying to get people to turn out the lights, at least on September 27th, which is kind of the center of one of the migration periods. These are the type of signs that we're making available to say, hey, consider what your outside lights look like, with some of the basic principles on the sign with a link to more information. Collaboration, again, with the Ohio State Parks. We've got the Miami Valley, the Meteor Shower Camp out at Cedar Creek State Park brings in 1,500 to 2,500 people that want to watch meteors. But since they're there for the course of the day, Miami Valley Astronomical Society would set up telescopes. Sometimes Warren County as well would set up telescopes. And we show them the sun during the day and then transition to targets at night. Upper right, John Bryant State Park. Erin has come up from Cedar Creek to set up a table while we're setting up telescopes still in the daylight. She's talking to people that are there about nocturnal animals, birds, reptiles, letting them know that the night sky is important to life in general. We need to further expand our engagement with like landscape lighting businesses, how to get them to maybe, if they want to illuminate the backyards, put the lights up in the tree, not at the base of the tree. Conservation groups. A couple nights ago, I talked to the Little Miami River Watershed Network annual meeting, talk about dark skies, expanding engagement at Ohio State University, Master Gardener Clubs, Audubon Society, whoever has a like-minded view on preserving the night sky. These are just some of the stargazes we set up at various parks around the area, where, while we were showing them the night sky because it's fun to do, we're also talking about the importance of maintaining and why the night sky is critical, not just for amateur astronomers and to see cool things at night, but because all life depends upon having a day-night cycle. And we start them young. Those are, I think, second to sixth graders at a rec center that we're talking to about the night sky. And why do we do this? Because I am convinced that if people understand what the night sky actually looks like, they will be inspired to do something about it. This is in Ohio. The Milky Way is visible occasionally in Ohio, away from the cities, maybe a few seconds time exposure here. But this is a cornfield out a little bit west of Dayton. But the night sky has always been inspiring. Van Gogh painted Starry Night from Saint-Remy in France just before he died. But could he do that now? Would Van Gogh be inspired to paint these night scenes? Because now you cannot see the night sky from those locations. Out west, you can still see the Milky Way, and it's inspiring when you go there. Now, these are blurry pictures. I apologize. But there's over 200 people in this picture, and they are looking at the moonrise through the trees, but through a slit in an earthenwork that was created over 2,000 years ago by the Hopewell culture. So the ancestral peoples throughout the world were probably more aware of the night sky than the average human walking the planet today. And not just the daily cycle. The Hopewell culture had mapped out an 18.6-year cycle to put these grooves. It's not a fort, it is an earthenwork. It's more of a calendar than anything else, but it's not just a yearly calendar, it's an 18.6-year calendar. Kind of fascinating. Would we have been inspired to go to the moon if we couldn't see the moon, if we didn't have visibility into the night sky and wondered what was up there? Comets happen. And while I am waiting for a comet that is going to strike fear and terror into the population, I'm still fascinated by just a comet that you can take a picture of with your cell phone resting on top of your car. And there are now rather economical aids to help people. They can look at the Orion Nebula through a binocular or a telescope and go, wow. And then you show them what it actually looks like as the color starts to stack, and the wow gets quite louder and the jaw sometimes just stays dropped and open. A lot of us were able to see Aurora Borealis down here in Ohio last year and a little bit this year. But again, what you see is kind of depends upon the level of light pollution. The same night, same event, same time, very different impacts. That's my neighborhood in Beaver Creek on the left. That's the best I could get with about a 2 or 3 second exposure with a cell phone just braced on the top of my car. And yet Aaron down at Caesar Creek got a much more interesting response with their camera. When we have stargazes, we draw anywhere from 40 to 400 people to a public stargaze. And long before we're set up and ready to actually show them anything, they start streaming in because they are interested in what we're doing and why we're doing it and what's up there. And many of them, when they see something, you know they saw it because suddenly their jaw drops open, literally, or they let out with a very loud, oh my, oh wow. And it's kind of fun. Channel 2, a local channel, came out recently or earlier this year to interview about what was going on. And the young kid there in the green shirt, he got interviewed, and I don't know why they picked him out, but he was a good choice. For the last 3 years, he's not local to the area that we're at, but he drags his parents to John Bryant State Park for a camping trip on the weekend that we were doing one of our public stargazes at John Bryant. And then he and his parents are out there, and he is asking so many questions. He inspires me because he is the next generation of amateur astronomer and night sky enthusiast. So the night sky inspires, whether it's something that's just beautiful or something that's just haunting. The night sky inspires everybody who looks at it. And for those of you who live out west, I've been out west and you can see the night sky. I cannot see it from here, but I can see it from there. So what do I tell people? I tell people that to talk about the night sky and why it needs to be preserved. Have an elevator pitch, if you will, a 15-second spiel that if the topic comes up, you're ready to go. The night skies are vanishing due to rapid growth of light pollution. Critical wildlife is being endangered. Our own human safety is being endangered. It's erasing our view of the stars. And we don't have time. We don't have much time to continue to act. And then a personal code, kind of like John Wayne. Everybody's got to have a code. And part of mine is I don't have the right to trespass on deer property. Why should my outdoor lights? And what do I ask people to do? What do I ask you to do? Well, we all have an audience, whether your audience is one person or two people or 20 people or 1,000 people. But address your audience on the critical importance of preserving the natural night sky for all of life on Earth. And that is all I have. Any questions for later?
That was amazing, amazing, amazing work. Steve, thank you so much for your presentation. And we do have tons of questions. So without further ado, we can slide right into that. And, because Steve, you mentioned a few tips and tricks for communicating with the news and like ways to engage and advocate for the night, like in terms of like public advocacy or outreach, essentially. I do have a question for all of you, which is, what strategies do you recommend for getting your dark sky advocacy work noticed by the news? And once you have that attention, how do you keep that public engagement? And we can start with Steve.
Okay, keeping the public engagement is probably the easiest one to address. Is be out there, get out there, be willing to find opportunities that you can shoehorn in a message. I mean, Mark shoehorns his way with a Dark Sky Ohio table at any number of events that don't necessarily start out talking about the night sky, but he will get it. He will squeeze it in. If you've got local astronomy groups, the more opportunities you have to have stargazes, to show people the night sky, to show people how difficult it is to see certain things, but let them know that if it was dark, what you're looking at through these binoculars, you could see naked eye if it was just a little darker. And so educating the public, we put signs up, and yeah, they're not environmentally friendly, they're plastic, but we use them for advertising. Landscape puts a sign up, plumber puts a sign up in your yard after doing plumbing work. Political campaigns, every year in November, they're peppered with signs. Why not use those for advocating for dark skies? So that's kind of keeping engagement. You got to get the engagement on all fronts. What was the first part of your question?
Essentially, like, how do you get the news's attention in terms of like the press, media, that kind of thing, whether it's in newspapers or even like on the radio? How do you get, I guess, local broadcasters to want to engage with your story and what you're doing?
Okay. Unfortunately, I don't have a really good answer for that. We just kind of looked into Channel 2 contacted us about doing a program called Under the Umbrella, the weather portion of it. It was a 24-minute web session they did. They interviewed the president, Dave, who was there in one of the pictures, and they put on this 24-minute presentation. They did some footage out there during the stargazes. We lucked into that. We didn't solicit that, but we did let Channel 2 know that if they wanted us back, we'd be more than happy to come. So I don't know how to wedge our ways into the news coverage, but if you know somebody, again, who is your audience? If you have an audience, talk to them about why it's important. And if your audience includes somebody that works for a news station, bug them. That was too much for me.
I agree with that. I'm always like kind of be a nuisance, and that, just keep poking, So it's kind of worked for me in the past, but I know everyone has a different community and a different strategy. And Juan or Bryant, do you have anything that you would want to add or an experience in terms of like picking up the news?
Yeah, well, this is a little bit tricky, the situation of the to keeping high, right? The awareness, because right now we are living in times of 5 minutes memory, the scrolling. So you can get a picture very impressive, the northern lights with ultra processing, or you can promote the astrophotography with the new these AI telescopes, the I don't remember the brand, but that you just put Orion Nebula, and this smaller AI telescope look for it. It doesn't matter if there is some tree in the between. This have a big picture with all over processing. What I want to tell you is all this media and social media creating so much hype with over processing pictures and with a lot of AI overreacting on the colors it creates an expectations that when these people go to the stargazing in the night, some people get frustrated and they said, in the Instagram, it was very impressive, and here is Gree. So, on my point of view, the best way to have the proper engagement and have the proper awareness to the people is to have an experience where you embrace to the visitors, or when you have a very good click with the people, in order that this small group that you can handle, 10 people, 15 people that you can have around a couple of telescopes, and you are explaining the mythology behind the stars and the history on their ancestors of the people living in that specific place, that is more efficient in a small group. Being honest and being awareness is more efficient than tons and tons of media impact that will just create big hype and is not granted when they are under the night sky. So, in my point of view, is to have a good engagement with a small group in a night stargazing.
Well, I agree a lot with both ideas of Stephen and Juan Carlos, because but here in Paraguay we have an advantage that here we have a lot of places of dark skies. Paraguay is a small country. I mean, it's smaller than Peru, for example, and there are the only three most populated cities. But the rest of the country has clearest skies and dark skies, and there are a lot of amateur astronomers and groups of amateur stargazers that they are always taking pictures of from their cities and posting in social network, but they don't overprocess the images. They just for example, they use basic parameters of uh, long exposition pictures, and as they see, they post it in social network. We from our planetarium, we always are trying to impact to the different communities, because our planetarium is a mobile planetarium. So we go city to city, or we go to schools, or we go to every place where we can go to show the importance of uh, preserve the dark skies. But also we're working with the marsupials, and we're working with the different environments or species that live under darkness. And we promote also the telescope night. For example, tonight we were going to go to see Saturn, but it's cloudy already, so it won't be possible. But always we are trying to connect with people with activities inside our planetarium, or promoting the dark skies that Paraguay have, because there are a lot of territories throughout the country that there are no lights, there are no light pollution. So we want to keep it that to keep this interest to astronomy, because here there are cultural astronomy. The Guarani people, the indigenous people from this country, they also see stars. They also look at the skies, and they have their own constellations. So we share this part of the local astronomy with the indigenous groups, the preservation of how Guarani people in the past they saw the skies and they create their own constellation. So we have a lot of products to share with people, and we also have contact with communication TV shows, and we try to spread the word of astronomy and well connect with people, as Juan Carlos was saying. So it's interesting because I am starting to work short time ago, but I am very excited to keep working with it with this project here in Paraguay.
Yeah, I totally love that and resonate with everything everyone said in terms of like, people have these expectations now of what they see on the screen is what they're going to see in the sky. And that's not necessarily true, right? And so, with that, when somebody does come to your community from like their own hometown and it doesn't, match up to what they were expecting, how do you make it awe inspiring for them to want to take back home and continue sharing, the importance of dark skies when it didn't necessarily match up to what they were expecting to see? Like, how do you shift that perspective? And anyone can start.
Yeah, I think the key is try not only to show, for example, telescopes are the first tool that everyone can use, but also the impact that or show live, for example, saying, well, tell me how do you see the stars tonight, or tell me if you can identify any constellation, or how can you change the light parameters or the light, the lighting that you have around your community? For example, tonight, the places where we go to see with the telescopes is a community park, and we have the chance to turn the lights off. And so when people come there, we start our activities with the lights on, and we try to see, and we say, hey, okay, block the light with your hand, and try to see that star. But then after some minutes, we turn off lights, and people see the difference, and the impact of this is magic. So we try to share this little experience like that. Some people use stellarium in their cell phones, and they try to make this the follow the star sun constellation. But then I say, okay, don't do that. Don't use your cell phone. Try to do by your own eyes. And well, this is a very popular practice in our activities.
I agree with what Brian said about, I call that expectation management. Especially when somebody's buying a scope, don't believe the pictures on the box from the department store telescope. Those are probably Hubble images. You're not going to get that. But when they're at a Stargaze, I like to have them. I usually set up binoculars on tripods, big binoculars, but binoculars on tripods near the front entrance. And so I say, I have a target, and I will show them, and I'll say, it's not going to look like the pictures you see in magazines, but it's only 30 power for these particular binoculars. But still, when they see it for real, with their own eyes through optical aids, they are amazed by it. They are in awe by it. And then I recommend that they go through and hit every piece of equipment that's out there, because some of our guys will set up really big yard cannons, F-15 level scopes. And when you look at Messier 13 through a very long scope, you see thousands of pinpricks of light. And that is it's jaw-dropping. So it's a matter of managing their expectations. They will be thrilled with a small telescope and a large telescope because they have not seen it before. And you let them know it's not going to be the images that you see in magazines. But then we also have C-Star set up that are collecting data. So you can look real time at Messier 13 through an 8-inch scope, and then you can look at something that's been collecting data for 15, 20 minutes, and they get it expands their appreciation for what's up there. So yes, expectation management is important, but then show them the spectrum of what's available with the equipment that's out there. And then they can go home and compare it to what they find in internet images. But we're telling them that these are not internet images. These are not Hubble images. These are all amateur volunteers with their own equipment out here that just want to show you really cool things that are up in the night sky.
Well, and what we do in our stargazing is that we mitigate these expectations by explaining that that pictures and all that media impact is with a lot of photons and a lot of information and a lot of exposure accumulated. But in this stargazing experience, they will see by their own eyes, which is, another vantage point, and they will connect with this dark sky, with the histories of their ancestors and the previous generations that they was aware about the upper dark sky, because they have this connection, and these people visiting us and giving and having this experience, we explain, hey, you guys have the privilege of see something that the rest of the people is not longer able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think managing expectations and just really speaking to your audience and knowing who they are and their interests, that really makes the gosh, I guess the project easier in a way. And with, collaborating with, different groups from different communities on different topics, each of you kind of touched on engaging with the younger generations and the younger audience. And I kind of wanted to hear more about like your experiences with getting the youth involved in dark sky advocacy, and how to make them, pick up that importance of the night. And anyone can go.
A lot of my presentations are actually to young people. I've addressed schools, homeschool groups, scout groups, Girl Scout groups, summer recreation center, camps, and they are almost universally intrigued by the night sky. And I think it's because they don't get to see it. And so I think we do have to capture them. Now, how to keep them engaged after that 1 hour presentation, I'm not sure. Now, that young kid in the green shirt, Luke, he's been out, 3 years running now. He drags his parents out. He's been captured. Now, how to take that enthusiasm he has and expand it to other youth, I don't have a solution, but I know that we have to put ourselves in a position where we're not necessarily just talking to our peers, but we need to go out and actively try to talk to the young people. In the Miami Valley Astronomical Society, we have some young people, and they are talented, enthusiastic, and dedicated. But they were they were just that way. It's like, my fascination started at the age of 6 with checking a book out of the library. And it was fascinating, and the fascination stayed. So how do you inculcate that? How do you keep it going? I don't know, but you have to provide the opportunity. The stargazes, both of the other speakers mentioned, they host stargazes. I think that's critically important. No matter how bad the skies are, you can find something up there. There are times when the only target we have is a crescent moon, and if that's all it is, that's all it is. We've got to show it, and so that's what we do. And young people, when they look at the moon at 10 or 30 or 180 magnification, they're pretty amazed, and so we need to keep that amazement going.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian, do you want to say something?
I don't know if Juan Carlos want to say first.
Well, and just the same that I said before, when you say to the people that is visiting you that they have this privilege of see something that nobody else can see, or the people, the most of the people cannot see anymore, they feel like a connection. So for them, the importance of the awareness of this is that they are keeping a legacy. they are keeping a history of knowledge that their ancestor was experiencing. So I think the awareness, or to keep the importance of the dark sky, is, guys, look, this is menaced and this is jeopardized, and you need to spread this word in order to keep it for next generations.
That's right. Well, what I have to say about this is because now I'm recently I was promoted as a national outreach coordinator here in Paraguay. So one of the missions is spread the word of how important is not only the study about astronomy, but also every initiative about observation and everything that involves not only astronomy, but to know that we are all under one sky, as these presentations we have been doing, and we have to care our skies and do and promote all these activities.
Yeah, absolutely. Opportunity, collaboration, privilege, they all go hand in hand. And with that idea of, opportunity, Juan, I do have a question about those light towers that you were addressing a little bit in your presentation. I see those almost everywhere now. Vegas has quite a few with the Luxor. They've got that giant sphere. And it seems like, they're kind of popping up throughout the world as, I don't know, different demonstrations, artistic demonstrations. And I was wondering, what is your strategy for addressing like huge light structures like that? And do you have any advice for anyone who would want to, maybe communicate on mitigating that kind of light?
Yeah, it's a big challenge. I can tell you, in Querétaro, we promote this law in order to request to the publicity or the media agencies to dim down these big billboards, the like billboards in Querétaro. It's not easy to have everyone to meet this law, because this is like, there is nobody immediately dying or no big impacting that you can send police to. But if we do this at the same time, we have this law in order to control and mitigate that type of structures. And in the other hand, you have campaigns and you promote. In some point, the people near the neighborhood, they rise the report to say, hey, this is not meeting the law, and we can make a synergy. But I can tell you, this battle is not won yet.
And anyone else can speak, but does anyone else have a similar experience with, challenges in terms of, addressing light pollution and maybe, coming up against a barrier that was harder to overcome or you haven't overcome yet? Is anyone experiencing something like that right now?
At a strictly local level, my bugaboo, my pet peeve, my spear in the chest are car dealerships, because they have intense lighting and it's on all night long. And while the lighting may be downward directed, the lighting bounces off their asphalt parking lots and shines back up into the sky. And while there is legislation, while there are city codes that say, no, you can't do this, you have certain levels of lighting, no enforcement. So while I'm not a real fan of over-regulating and over-legislating, this is an area where I think that for Dark Sky Ohio, at some point we need to go to the State House and figure out how to address this possibly at a state level, because Ohio is a densely populated state, a lot of excess unnecessary lighting. Suggestions that were made in previous presentations is raise the cost of nighttime electricity. And while I kind of hate to do that, on the other hand, it might work, because everybody feels the impact and response to things that affect the pocketbook and the bottom line. We don't have, that I'm aware of, any Las Vegas style light towers here. I have been to Las Vegas. It is absolutely incredibly horrible. but I have seen other those light towers periodically. If they're on for a few minutes, it's not one, it's one thing. But if they leave them on all night or for hours at a time, an entirely different matter. So I'm with you. They need to be addressed somehow. The awareness of the problems they cause to the birds, to the insects, need to be addressed.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think Harrison in the chat was saying, prevent them before they even happen. And I wish I was so in tune. I don't know how you get like in the know of these things before they happen. I'm always like a couple weeks late. So it's very unfortunate. But again, I think it's just, diving deep into your community and just being very engaged, like you all were talking about, really knowing who you're around, who you're surrounded by, and using that energy for sure. So, Bryant, a question I have for you. Oh, where is it? My apologies. For Bryant, how do you approach conversations with local communities or tourism operators who may not initially see light pollution as a concern, especially when it's impacting the possum? I was going to say opossums, the possum population.
Well, the work we have been doing with the possums is very recent with taking this data. But the thing is that here Paraguay is as I said before, it's a small country and we have only 8 million people population. Um, Even despite we have a lot of amateur people interested by skies, by dark skies, um, we have not these campaigns of preservation because I am practically I am initializing these activities this year. So I had not time enough working with the population or government or big groups, only with outreach, doing outreach, spreading and talking about astronomy in a telescope nights inside my planetarium, or in schools is where I am having this, trying to reach people and create this conscience about the light pollution. But it's a work that I am starting from 2 years from now. I'm living here in Paraguay 3 years ago because I am from Venezuela originally, but I live here. So I started work, but only as a outreacher of astronomy. So create this campaign or create this mm, I don't know, legislation, for example, as Juan Carlos did in Querétaro. I think it's a work I have to do, but with more time from now. I think the work I've been doing is small because it's only me and 2 or 3 more colleagues. But I think we need more time to spread more, to create conscience about dark skies and light pollution here in Paraguay. But staying here, for example, in Under One Sky, these conferences probably is a beginning of everything we can do in the future.
Yeah. And I think that that's a really inspiring note and perspective to have. I think it can only get better from here, truly, especially, just keeping hope alive, energy, keep going, yes, we've all hit barriers. I mean, I'm hitting a barrier in my neighborhood, let me tell you. But yeah, just like keep going and finding your network. And like just talking, collaborating, connecting. Like I think this has energized us all. Um, and kind of to leave on that note, I want to ask an inspiring question for all of you. What advice do you have for somebody who may be, losing hope, kind of maybe their proclamations are taking too long, or their projects aren't turning out the way that they thought it would. What advice do you have to say to keep going? And I will just, I guess, leave that there. Anybody?
Well, the same. Have this. Do not lose this energy or this interest because, for example, here in Paraguay, we have uh, this extends territory of dark skies, and the idea is try to keep it like that, um, and say people, for example, well, uh, if population grows, the light pollution will grow too. So we have to try to create these education programs in order they do not affect the environment or the fauna, the nocturnal fauna. In the case of us, we are working with fauna, with animals. I said before in my presentation that we were taking data about birds and bats here in the city. But sometimes it's hard to get to this information because organizations are not so organized. So sometimes we keep working on the advice we can give to people in order to they keep learning or keep educating about astronomy and giving some courses or workshops is follow and see skies and inspire watching stars and coming to our activities because we have a lot of information to share and tips or other advices. For example, we used to go to schools and we used to go to some different communities, and always we are saying, well, let's keep working because here, for example, there are not uh, astronomy in universities. So the most of the people, we are amateurs, but that is not a limitation. I think everyone can share just a grain of sand, for example, of information or effort to create big things. So this is the what I think. I think we can all join and do something great.
Good comments, Bryant. I might add that if somebody feels like what they're doing is hopeless, they're giving up hope about trying to pursue it, the first thing they should do is look in the mirror and say, if I don't do it, who will? That's one approach. And the other is you don't know who you know. If you talk to enough people and they talk to enough people and they talk to enough people, maybe somebody knows the governor, maybe somebody knows the president, maybe somebody knows the head of the lighting company. You don't know who you know. So talk to everybody about the issues. And maybe if you spark a chain of events, it's like the butterfly effect. You know, what's going to happen? You just have to keep plugging. And if you don't do it, who is going to do it? So it's not hard to talk to people about preserving the night sky. You just go out and do it.
Yeah, it's a great comment and a very good question because probably I should focus or should put more um, on my presentation about this because I feel that there is a moment in when I got the certification of Joya La Barreta that I was born out because it was desperating to don't have enough support from the government and the organization and the dependencies. But when you have this big achievement, you just take a good breath. And you know what? My presentation was about legacy. So my answer to how to keep this energy to keep fighting, my answer is you don't keep it. You get tired, but you should have something to back up you and continue this legacy because these new people have the curve of energy and they can back up you and continue the legacy. Meanwhile, you start a new inspiration, a new awareness travel, a new to organize new experiences in another place. So my answer is keeping a backup in to follow your legacy once you are not there.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely all beautiful advice and very inspiring. And I think I felt tears in the back of my eyes there for a second for some reason. But yes, you all are doing amazing, amazing, amazing work. And I know I'm going to take away a lot of practical, tools and tips from this regional story session. And I'm right on, Steve, get it. And I hope everyone else did too. I hope you all continue to advocate for the night and really, connect, collaborate, keep going. If you run into a hurdle, ask somebody. Because Steve is so right. You don't know who knows someone else. It could be, a governor or the mayor or the president. Everyone knows somebody. And it's honestly like places like this at Under One Sky that really shows you that we are a huge community with so many resources. And I am so grateful for you all to speak at today's regional story session. Steve, Bryant, Juan Carlos, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you to all who have joined. And without further ado, we're going to head on over to the Dark Skies award ceremony.